You want to win in life? Stop relying on your feelings and start locking in your focus. See, feelings are fickle. They're like the weather. One day you're up, next day you're down. You can't build a legacy on emotions. You can't build a business, a dream, or a future just on how you feel. I didn't get here because I felt good every day. I got here because I focused when I didn't feel like it. I showed up when my body said sleep. I studied when my mind said rest. I trained when the world said quit. Discipline, that's what separates average from elite. When you're focused, laser focused, you don't care about distractions. You don't need applause. You don't need a perfect mood. You just grind, because your why is stronger than your feelings. You think champions feel like waking up at 4 a.m. every day? No, but they do it anyway. Because they're building something, and they know bricks don't move on their own. It's built brick by brick, day by day with focus, not feeling. So the next time your emotions tell you to slow down, remind yourself, I wasn't built by comfort. I was built by comfort. I was built by consistency. Remember, when feelings fade, focus remains. And focus builds empire. Feelings are temporary, but focus is power. If you truly want to understand what separates the successful from the unsuccessful, it's this simple truth. Feelings don't build anything. Feelings are unreliable. They come and go like the tide, ebbing and flowing with circumstances, events, or the way you slept the night before. But focus is a steady, unyielding force. Focus doesn't change based on how tired you are, how much doubt you have, or how uncomfortable the journey gets. Focus stays. Focus gets things done. Let me tell you, success in life is never about feeling good. Success is about doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it, even when you don't want to, even when you'd rather just sleep or binge watch TV or avoid the hard work. But success is for those who are willing to press through those moments of weakness and discomfort. It's about getting up when you don't feel like getting up, going forward when it would be easier to stand still. It's about refusing to let temporary fusing dictate your permanent results. You see, there's a major difference between living by your feelings and living by your focus. When you live by feelings, you're living in reaction mode. You wake up and your first thought might be, I don't feel like going to work today. Or I'm too tired to work out. Or as such, you don't feel motivated to do that thing right now. Living by feelings means you're a victim of your circumstances. And when your circumstances change, when they become difficult or inconvenient, you give up. You stop. You take the easy route. You give in to your feelings. But when you live by focus, you don't care about how you feel. You care about where you're going. You care about the bigger picture. You understand that your feelings are just momentary distractions, nothing more than temporary obstacles that you need to push through in order to stay on track. You don't wait for motivation to heal you. You don't wait for the perfect conditions. You focus and you make progress. Even when everything inside of you says, stop. It doesn't matter how you feel. It matters where you're going. You know that success comes from showing up every day, no matter how you feel. When you're focused, you're committed to your goals. You are driven by something deeper than your mood. You understand that to reach your potential, you can't allow every whim or emotional state to throw you off course. You have to show up even when you don't feel like it. Because in the long run, those small actions compound and turn into massive results. Now, don't get me wrong, feelings have their place. They're a part of being human. Emotions are a natural response to our environment, to our circumstances, to the people around us. But feelings cannot be your decision makers. They cannot be your drivers. If you want to build something, anything, you can't let your feelings steer the ship. Your focus has to be the captain. Think about it. Have you ever had a day where you just didn't feel like doing anything? Maybe you woke up feeling sluggish. Maybe you felt overwhelmed by everything on your plate. Maybe life hit you with some hard blows, and all you wanted to do was crawl back into bed and hide. On those days, it's easy to give in to your feelings and give up. But I'm telling you right now, the people who succeed, the people who win, are the ones who show up anyway. They show up when they don't feel like it. They put in the work even when it feels like their body and mind are telling them to quit. Why? Because they know that the best version of themselves is not waiting for the perfect moment. It's not waiting for their feelings to align. They know that the best version of themselves is built through hard work, consistency, and unwavering focus. The reason they push through those difficult moments is because they have a bigger vision, a bigger purpose that drives them. And their focus on that purpose is stronger than any feeling of doubt or fatigue. This isn't about ignoring your feelings or pretending that they don't exist. It's about learning to master your feelings. It's about taking control of your emotions instead of letting them control you. You've heard the saying, your mind is a terrible thing to waste. Well, your emotions can be even worse. They'll make you procrastinate. They'll convince you to take shortcuts. They'll talk you into quitting before you even give yourself a chance. If you're constantly letting your feelings dictate your actions, you're not going to get very far. On the other hand, when you make the decision to focus, you're tapping into a power that's far greater than any emotional state. Focus allows you to block out the noise, the doubts, the distractions, the feelings that tell you to quit, and zone in on what really matters. Focus gives you the ability to tune out the temporary discomforts and stay locked into the long-term goal. Focus keeps your eyes on the prize, no matter how hard the journey gets. Think about the times in your life when you've accomplished something great. Did it happen because you felt motivated the whole time? Did it happen because you were always in the right emotional state? No, it happened because you stayed focused, you stayed committed. You took one step after another, even when you didn't feel like it, because you knew that each step was moving you closer to your goal. That's what focus does for you. It keeps you moving when everything else is telling you to stop. It reminds you of your why when your feelings tell you to give up. It gives you the strength to keep going, even when the road is long and difficult. Because the reality is, the road is always going to be long and difficult. Success doesn't come overnight. It comes from years of showing up, of grinding, of staying focused on the things that matter. So when those moments come, when your feelings try to convince you to back off, to quit, to take the easy road, don't listen. Don't let your feelings dictate your future. Instead, choose to focus. Focus on the vision. Focus on the vision. Focus on the small steps that will eventually lead to the big results. If you want to build something that lasts, if you want to achieve greatness, it's not going to come from feeling good all the time. It's going to come from your ability to stay focused, to stay consistent, and to push through when everything inside of you tells you to quit. You were not built to be a victim of your feelings. You were built to be a creator of your future. Your focus will build you, not your feelings. Win and show up regardless of mood. That's what separates those who make it from those who only dream about it. Anybody can perform when they're feeling good. Anybody can work hard when they're inspired. Anybody can chase their goals when life is easy, when the sun is shining, when everything feels aligned. But that's not where winners are made. Winners are made on the days when it's dark, on the days when nothing feels right. On the days when your body is tired, your heart is heavy, and your mind is begging you to stay in bed. Winners show up anyway. Let me tell you something. Your mood is lying to you. It's telling you that you're not ready. It's telling you that it's okay to skip today, to slow down, to hit pause. But guess what? Growth doesn't wait for your mood to improve. Your destiny doesn't sit around waiting for you to feel ready. Every second you delay, every time you back off because you're not feeling it, you're handing momentum away. And momentum is the one thing you can't afford to lose on your journey. There will be mornings when you wake up drained, days when your confidence is low, your mind is foggy, and your spirit is worn out. There will be times when everything inside of you says, not today. But those are the exact moments when champions are born. Not in the comfort, but in the discomfort. Not in the easy choices, but in the difficult ones. Because showing up when it's easy doesn't require strength. Showing up when it's hard is what builds you. Winners understand this on a deep level. They don't wait for motivation. They don't rely on inspiration. They rely on discipline. They made a decision that no matter how they feel, they're going to do what needs to be done. They've trained their minds to overpower their moods. When the alarm goes off, they don't negotiate. When it's time to work, they don't hesitate. They don't waste energy debating with their feelings. They've already made the decision to show up. That's what it means to be committed. Commitment isn't about convenience. Commitment is about doing it when it feels right. Commitment is about doing it especially when it feels wrong. That's what builds grit. That's what creates resilience. You've got to show up even when you're not in the mood. You've got to put in the reps when your motivation is gone. Because you can't build a strong body going to the gym only when you feel like it. You can't build a business working only when you're excited. You can't build a legacy waking up only when it's easy. You've got to learn to separate your mood from your mission. Most people don't fail because they don't have talent. They don't fail because they lack opportunity. They fail because they let their moods decide their effort. They give up too soon. They take too many days off. They only give 100% when they feel 100%, and that's the biggest trap you can fall into. Because guess what? You're not going to feel 100% most days. Life isn't going to hand you perfect circumstances. But if you learn to give your best even when you feel your worst, there's nothing that can stop you. Showing up is a decision. It's a choice you make in the quiet moments. It's that moment when you say to yourself, I don't feel like it, but I'm gonna do it anyway. It's brushing off the excuses. It's rejecting the inner voice that wants comfort and choosing the voice that wants greatness. It's looking your own laziness in the face and saying, not today. That's the power of showing up. That's the difference between the person who watches others win and the person who becomes the winner. Look at any successful person in sports, in business, in life, and you'll find one thing in common. They kept showing up. Day after day, through the pain, through the boredom, through the frustration. They weren't always excited. They weren't always fired up, but they were always present. They always showed up. Even if they didn't have their best performance, even if they stumbled, they didn't let their emotions steal their opportunity. They understood that consistency beats mood every single time. There's power in repetition. There's magic in momentum. Every time you show up when you don't want to, you're taking your power back. You're rewiring your brain to understand that your emotions are not in control. You are. And with every rep, every step, every task done in spite of your feeling, you become stronger. You become more dependable. You start to build a reputation with yourself that no matter what, you show up. That's how trust is built. That's how confidence is created. Not by feeling good all the time, but by knowing that you can rely on yourself even when you don't. You might be tired. You might be discouraged. You might be going through something no one else even knows about. But I'm telling you, the storm doesn't cancel your responsibility. The challenge doesn't erase your commitment. Life doesn't pause because your mood is off. The world keeps spinning. The opportunities keep passing. And the people who show up, they get to collect those opportunities. The ones who stay home waiting to feel good again, they miss out every time. You've got to be the kind of person who shows up no matter what. You've got to be the one who doesn't need to feel motivated because you're locked in. You're focused. You're driven by something deeper than your mood. You're driven by your purpose. Purpose will carry you when your mood tries to shut you down. Purpose is what makes you lace up your shoes even when your body is aching. Purpose is what gets you to keep working on your dreams even when the results are slow and the doubts are loud. And here's the beautiful thing. When you show up, your mood often catches up. That's the part most people don't realize. You start the workout not wanting to be there, but by the end, you're proud. You open the laptop feeling sluggish, but 20 minutes in, you're flowing. Doing the work creates the momentum that changes how you feel. But you've got to take that first step. You've got to show up first, even when it doesn't feel good. Stop letting your mood ruin your momentum. Stop giving your emotions permission to sabotage your effort. You've got goals. You've got dreams. You've got a future that's waiting for you. But it won't wait forever. And every time you choose not to show up, you're delaying the life you're supposed to have. Show up for your goals. Show up for your discipline. Show up for your future self. The mood you're in right now, it will pass. But the work you do today, that builds something permanent. That builds character. That builds results. That builds a life. So the next time you don't feel like showing up, do it anyway. Push through, show up. Again and again and again. Because when you learn to show up regardless of mood, you become unstoppable. Focus creates consistency, and consistency builds legacy. That's a formula every great achiever in history has followed, whether they knew it consciously or not. The truth is, you don't become successful by chance. You don't build greatness off of random bursts of energy or occasional motivation. You build it off of consistent action, repeated over time, day after day, whether you feel like it or not. Focus is the beginning of that process. It's the fuel that drives consistency. And when you are consistent long enough, you start to build something that lasts, something that outlives moods, setbacks, and even you. That's what legacy is. Focus is the ability to say yes to what matters and no to what doesn't. When you're focused, you're not just moving. You're moving with direction, with intention, and with clarity. You're not wasting your energy on distractions or detours. You're locked in. You know what you're after, and every action, every thought, every decision is aligned with that goal. And that level of focus is powerful because it allows you to repeat the right behaviors again and again. That's how consistency is born. Too many people think success is about talent or luck, but let's get real. Talent can give you a head start, and luck might open a door, but it's consistency that keeps you in the game. It's consistency that separates the good from the great. Anyone can do something once. Anyone can have a good day. But how many people can stay locked in over months, years, even decades? How many people can repeat the right habits so many times that becomes a part of who they are? You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. But you can't be consistent if you don't have focus. Because without focus, you're distracted. Without focus, you're scattered. You start something today, stop tomorrow. You chase one goal for a week, then switch to another one when it gets hard. You can't plant seeds and keep digging them up because you're impatient. Focus forces you to stay with the process, to believe in the process, to work the process even when you don't see results right away. That's what successful people understand. They understand that consistency is boring, and they embrace that. They don't need fireworks every day. They don't need excitement. They've trained themselves to love the grind, to find meaning in repetition, because they know that every rep, every task, every small effort is building something. Every brick laid, even if it looks like nothing today, is forming the foundation of something powerful tomorrow. Legacy isn't about what you do once. It's about what you do every day. Your legacy is shaped in the small decisions. The choice to wake up early, to show up on time, to keep going when others stop. It's built in silence when no one is watching. Legacy is formed in the hours of practice when the stadium is empty, in the night spent working when the world is sleeping. You don't build a legacy by trying to impress others. You build it by being focused, staying consistent, and doing the right thing long enough for it to bear fruit. Think of the people you admire, the legends in any field, sports, business, art, leadership. Do you think they became great because they felt inspired all the time? Of course not. They became great because they kept showing up. They kept working. They didn't just have focus for a day. They had it for a decade. They didn't just get it right once. They kept getting it right over and over again until their name meant something, until their work spoke for them, until their actions became part of history. And that can be you. But only if you're willing to commit to the long game. Only if you understand that consistency isn't glamorous. It's not loud. It's not always exciting. But it is powerful. It is transformational. And it is necessary. See, the reason so many people never build anything lasting is because they stop too soon. They break focus. They get impatient. They expect results in days, not years. But the most valuable things in life, health, mastery, wealth, purpose, they're not built quickly. They're built slowly with deliberate effort. They're built by doing the same right thing over and over again, even when it feels like it's not working, even when no one claps for you, even when progress is invisible. That's why focus is so critical. Because focus reminds you of the big picture when your mind is tempted by short-term rewards. Focus says, stay the course. Focus says, don't give in to the noise. Focus allows you to build momentum, and momentum is everything. Once you get consistent, once you get in rhythm, once your habits start working for you instead of against you, that's when the magic happens. But let's be real. Consistency is hard. It requires discipline. It requires commitment. It requires waking up every day and doing what needs to be done, not what you feel like doing. And that's where most people fall off. They want results, but they don't want routine. They want the outcome, but not the repetition. They want legacy, but not the lifestyle that builds it. You gotta make peace with repetition. You've gotta understand that greatness isn't always about intensity. It's about duration. It's about showing up again and again and again, no matter what. Focus is what keeps you on track when your emotions try to pull you off. Focus is what makes you get back up after a bad day. Focus keeps your eyes on your goals even when life throws distractions in your face. And here's the reward. When you stay consistent long enough, people notice. Results begin to show. Habits begin to harden. You become dependable to yourself and to others. You start to develop self-trust because you've proven that you can stick to something. You become the kind of person who follows through, who delivers, who finishes what they start. That kind of character is rare in today's world. That kind of character is what builds a name, a brand, a legacy. Not a one-hit wonder, not a short burst of brilliance, but a consistent pattern of showing up and doing excellent work, no matter how you feel. Legacy isn't just for famous people. It's not just for the ultra-successful. Your legacy is what you leave behind in the hearts and minds of the people you impact. Your family, your team, your community, your future self. And you impact them not by what you say once, but by how you live every single day. You impact them through your consistency, through your focus. So decide what matters most to you. Lock in. Eliminate distractions. Turn your attention to the process. Commit to doing it even when it's hard. Show up even when it's boring. Work when it's not convenient. Keep your vision clear. Keep your focus strong. Because focus creates consistency. And consistency builds legacy. That's how you go from average to unstoppable. From forgettable to unforgettable. From potential to powerful. Stay focused. Stay consistent. Build your legacy. The greater the focus, the less the distraction. That might sound simple, but it's one of the most powerful truths you'll ever understand if you want to win in life. Distraction isn't just about social media or your phone buzzing with notifications. It's about anything that pulls you away from your purpose. It's about anything that diverts your energy from what really matters. But here's the thing. Distraction can't overpower you if your focus is strong enough. When you're fully locked in on where you're going, the noise around you fades away. It doesn't disappear, but it loses its grip on you. Most people aren't losing because they don't have talent. They're losing because they can't focus. They start something meaningful, but as soon as something else pops up, a new opportunity, someone's opinion, an easier path, they pivot, they shift, they dilute their energy. And when your energy is divided, your results are diluted. You can't chase 10 things and expect to master even one. That's the curse of distraction. It steals your future one moment at a time. Focus is what gives you clarity in a world full of chaos. Focus is what gives you discipline when everything around you is tempting you to settle. Focus gives you control. It's the filter that helps you decide what deserves your attention and what doesn't. And the more focused you are, the easier it becomes to say no to things that don't serve your goal. Because here's the truth. Saying no is just as powerful as saying yes. Every no to distraction is a yes to your mission. Every no to wasted time is a yes to your potential. Let's be honest. Distractions are everywhere. They don't just show up on your phone or your screen. They show up in the form of gossip, negativity, doubt, insecurity, fear. They show up in the form of people who don't believe in your vision, who want you to slow down because your drive makes them uncomfortable. They show up in the form of your own mind when it starts whispering things like, you're not ready, or you can do it later. You can do it later. But when your focus is strong, none of that sticks. Because focus doesn't just give you direction, it gives you resistance against the pull of comfort, resistance against the urge to quit, resistance against distractions disguised as opportunity. Here's something else to understand. Distraction always looks attractive. That's how it works. It shows up dressed like something urgent, something fun, something easier than the grind you're in. And if you don't have a strong reason for staying focused, if your why isn't crystal clear, then you'll fall for it. You'll trade your purpose for something that gives you a quick hit of satisfaction, but steals your long-term progress. So that's what distraction does. It sells you cheap rewards at the cost of real results. So how do you fight that? You build your focus like a muscle. You train it. You get used to locking in and shutting everything else out. You eliminate clutter, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. You stop chasing everything and start chasing the right thing. You simplify your goals, you define your priority, and you create an environment that supports your focus instead of sabotaging it. Start with small things. If you're working on something important, then turn your phone off. If you're chasing a big goal, stop comparing your journey to someone else's timeline. If you're trying to build something meaningful, stop explaining yourself to people who don't get it. Not everyone deserves access to your attention. Not every opinion is worth your energy. Not every opportunity is meant for you. Focus teaches you that. It gives you boundaries. It makes you intentional. Think about how many times you've been close to a breakthrough only to get distracted. You were on track. You had momentum. You were making progress. And then something came along, a new idea, a little setback, a small comfort, and you gave it your attention, gave it your time. And before you knew it, the progress you made started to slip away. That's not because you weren't capable. It's because distraction crept in and stole your consistency. That's the danger of not guarding your focus. It doesn't just slow you down, it sends you in the wrong direction. But when your focus is unshakable, everything changes. You start to see distractions for what they really are. Roadblocks dressed as shortcuts. You don't chase everything that shines. You stay committed to the grind that brings real results. You stop worrying about what others are doing and start doubling down on your own race. You become more productive, more disciplined, more powerful. Because all of your energy is flowing in one direction. And that kind of energy is unstoppable. Now, don't confuse focus with perfection. You're going to get distracted sometimes. That's normal. But the difference between winners and everyone else is this. Winners notice when they're distracted and they correct course. They don't stay off track for long. They refocus. They remind themselves of their mission. They get back to the work. That ability to refocus quickly is one of the most valuable skills you can develop because life will try to pull you in 100 directions. It's your job to keep steering the wheel toward your purpose. When you build a lifestyle around focus, you become a different person. You become a different person. You stop needing external motivation. You've created internal alignment. You stop needing validation because your confidence comes from execution. You stop fearing failure because you're too focused on learning and improving. Focus makes you dangerous, not in a reckless way, but in a powerful way. Because while others are distracted by everything that doesn't matter, you're locked in on everything that does. And this isn't just about work or goals. Focus impacts every area of your life. Focus makes your relationships better because you're more present. It makes your health better because you stop making emotional decisions and start making intentional ones. It makes your mind sharper because you're not filling it with noise and junk. Focus brings peace. Focus brings peace. Focus brings clarity. Focus brings freedom. There's a reason why some people get more done in a week than others do in a month. It's not because they have more hours, because they waste fewer hours. They guard their time like their life depends on it. They protect their focus like it's sacred because whatever you focus on, you feed. Whatever you focus on, you grow. If you focus on problems, your problems expand. If you focus on purpose, your life expands. That's the power of attention. That's the power of choosing what gives you energy. So ask yourself, what are you focusing on? Is it moving you forward or holding you back? Are you investing your attention into things that build your future or things that drain your progress? If you're not where you want to be, chances are you've been distracted. And that's not an insult, that's a wake-up call. You don't need more time. You don't need more talent. You need more focus. Make a decision today to stop giving energy to everything that doesn't serve your mission. Make a decision to become obsessed with your purpose, to shut out the noise, to block the distractions, to lock in on what matters. Because once your focus becomes greater than your distraction, you become unstoppable. You move differently. You think differently. You live differently. And when you live with that kind of focus, your results start to multiply. Your time becomes more valuable. Your actions become more impactful. Your dreams become more attainable, all because you chose to focus and not to flinch. The greater the focus, the less the distraction. Choose focus every day, every hour, every moment, and watch how fast your life transforms. When you build your life by focus instead of feeling, you choose to live with clarity and intention. Focus creates consistency even when motivation fades. It's a powerful reminder that real growth, real transformation, and real greatness are not born out of temporary emotions, but out of unwavering consistency rooted in focus. Feelings are like the weather, they change. You might feel excited today and drained tomorrow. You might feel motivated after watching a video or reading a quote, but that motivation can fade within hours. And that's why so many people struggle to build a life they dream of. They rely too heavily on emotional highs to carry them through, expecting motivation to be the fuel that powers their journey every day. But motivation isn't permanent. It's a spark, not a source. Focus, on the other hand, is deliberate. It's a decision. It's something you renew every single day, whether you feel like it or not. Consistency is not easy. It's not glamorous. It's waking up at 5 a.m. when your body says asleep. It's hitting the gym when your mind says rest. It's working on your goals even when nobody claps for you, even when nobody believes in you, even when you question yourself. That level of consistency doesn't come from feelings. It comes from focus. Because focus keeps you aligned with your purpose. It keeps your eyes on the bigger picture. It keeps your eyes on the bigger picture. And when the bigger picture is clear, the daily grind becomes a little more meaningful, even if it's hard. People often ask, how do I stay consistent? The truth is, you don't wait for the right feeling. You build structure. You build discipline. You build rituals that lock you into focus. You train your mind to show up regardless of the weather in your heart. You show up on rainy days, on cloudy days, on stormy days, because your vision is worth it. Focus also helps you push through the plateau. You see, in every journey, whether it's fitness, career, relationships, or self-development, there comes a time when progress slows down. You hit that wall, you feel like you're doing everything right, but not seeing results. That's the breaking point for most people. That's when many quit because they no longer are feeling it. But if you're focused, you won't quit. You might adjust your approach, but you'll stay in the game. You'll keep showing up because your focus reminds you that slow progress is still progress is still progress. Your feelings may say this isn't working, but your focus will say stay the course. And when you stay consistent through that plateau, that's when breakthroughs happen. That's when the compound effect kicks in. That's when people start to look at you and say, oh wow, how did they do it? But they didn't see the days you kept showing up when you didn't feel like it. They didn't see the quiet battles you fought alone. They didn't see the inner war you won every time. You chose discipline over distraction. That's what makes consistency so powerful. It's not always visible, but it always pays off in the long run. Another reason focus drives consistency is that it simplifies your life. When you're focused, you're not chasing 10 things at once. You're not jumping from one dream to another every time your emotions change. You're locked in. You know what matters. You know what you're building. And that allows you to say a no to distractions. That allows you to cut out the noise. You stop comparing yourself to others because you're so tuned in to your own mission. That clarity makes it easier to stay consistent because you're not wasting time and energy on things that don't align with your purpose. Focus also helps you develop habits. And habits are the backbone of consistency. Once something becomes a habit, it requires less emotional energy to do. You don't need to be motivated to brush your teeth or drop the work. It's automatic. The same principle applies to working on your goals. If you can stay focused long enough to build the right habits, your actions become second nature. And that's when you gain serious momentum. That's when consistency becomes effortless. But here's the catch. Building habits takes time. It takes repetition. It takes showing up again and again, even when it's boring, even when it's hard. And that's why you need focus. Focus gives you the endurance to keep going. Feelings might get started, but focus will keep you going until the habit is formed. Let's be honest. In today's world, distraction is everywhere. Social media, notifications, endless options pulling you in every direction. If you don't have focus, you'll be consumed by all that noise. You'll be reactive instead of proactive. You'll start and stop 100 things and never finish one. But if you train your mind to stay focused, if you guard your time, your attention, and your energy, you'll unlock a level of consistency that most people only dream of. And don't confuse focus with intensity. You don't have to be intense all the time to be focused. Focus is calm. Focus is steady. Focus is showing up day after day, building brick by brick, while others burn out chasing short-term highs. It's about doing the right things consistently, not just doing everything passionately for a few days and then crashing. Focus gives you a standard to live by. It creates an internal compass that keeps you centered. So even when your feelings tell you to take a break, your focus reminds you of your responsibilities. Even when your feelings tempt you to quit, your focus whispers, keep going. You're almost there. Focus is the bridge between who you are and who you're becoming. And consistency is the vehicle that takes you across that bridge. Without focus, the vehicle breaks down. Without consistency, the bridge leads nowhere. But when you put them together, when you build by focus, not by feeling, you unlock a level of power that transforms your entire life. So if you're struggling to stay consistent, stop asking how you feel. Start asking what you're focused on. Revisit your vision. Revisit your why. Make it so strong, so clear, so unshakable that it drowns out every excuse, every distraction, and every temporary emotion. Let that focus drive your actions. Let that focus build your discipline. Let that focus create the consistency that builds your legacy. Because at the end of the day, it's not the most talented who win. It's not the most emotional who win. It's the most consistent. And the most consistent are always the most focused. Discipline outlasts motivation because it isn't dependent on how you feel in the moment. Motivation is like a spark. It's exciting, it's bright, and it feels powerful when it's there, but sparks don't last. They flare up and fade quickly. Discipline, on the other hand, is the steady flame that keeps burning even when the excitement is gone. It's the habit of showing up, putting in the work, and staying committed regardless of whether the emotional high is still there. And that's what separates people who succeed in the long term from those who start strong and fade away. Motivation is a great starter, but it's a terrible finisher. Think about the number of times you felt motivated to start something. A new workout routine, a business idea, a personal project, only to stop after a few weeks or months. Why? Because somewhere along the way, that initial burst of energy disappeared. You got tired, you got busy. You didn't feel like it anymore. And if you only act when you feel like it, you'll never see anything through to the end. That's why discipline is more valuable than motivation. It's what keeps you going after the feeling is gone. Discipline is not about wanting to do the work. It's about doing it anyway. It's waking up early to train even when your bed feels warm and comfortable. It's sitting down to study when every part of you wants to scroll on your phone. It's saying no to distraction. Not because you feel like saying no, but because you've already decided that your goals come first. Discipline takes the decision out of the moment. When you're disciplined, you don't negotiate with yourself based on your current mood. You follow through because you've committed to the process. One of the biggest traps people fall into is thinking they have to feel motivated to take action. They wait for the right mood or the perfect timing, not realizing that those moments are rare and fleeting. Successful people don't wait to be in the mood. They create the momentum by taking action first. And once they've built the habit of action, discipline carries them forward, even when their motivation is at zero. Another reason discipline outlasts motivation is because discipline is built on routine. Motivation thrives on novelty. It's excited by new ideas and fresh thought, but novelty wears off. Discipline thrives on consistency. It's the habit of doing the same small things over and over until they produce results. It's like training a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. The first few weeks might feel uncomfortable, but over time, disciplined actions become automatic. And when something becomes automatic, it doesn't require as much emotional energy to do. The truth is, discipline is what actually produces the results that motivation promises. Motivation gives you the vision of a better future, but discipline is what turns that vision into reality. Without discipline, you'll always be stuck in the dreaming stage, imagining how great life could be without putting in the work to make it happen. Discipline closes that gap between wanting and having, between imagining and living. And here's the thing, discipline isn't glamorous. It's not Instagram worthy. It's not always exciting. It's often repetitive, boring, and thankless. That's why so many people abandon it. They crave the rush of motivation, not the grind of discipline. But if you can learn to embrace that grind, to fall in love with the process instead of the feeling, you'll separate yourself from 99% of people. Because while they're waiting to feel like it, you're already moving forward. Discipline also builds trust in yourself. Every time you follow through on what you said you do, even when you didn't feel like it, you strengthen your self-respect. You prove to yourself that you can be counted on, that you're someone who honors commitment. And when you trust yourself, you gain confidence, not the fake kind that comes from hype, but the real kind that comes from knowing you put in the work. That confidence becomes fuel for the next challenge and the next one after that. Motivation is reactive. It depends on something happening to spark it. Discipline is proactive. It works whether or not anything inspires you in the moment. You don't have to wait for discipline. You can choose it anytime. And the more you choose it, the more natural it becomes. You stop relying on external pushes and start relying on your internal standards. Another important thing to understand is that motivation is emotion-based, and emotions are unpredictable. Life will give you days when you feel unstoppable and days when you feel completely drained. If your progress depends on catching the good days, you'll be stuck in a cycle of stop. Discipline cuts through that cycle because it's principle-based, not emotion-based. Principles don't change just because your feelings do. If you've decided that you work on your craft every day for 2 hours, you do it whether you're excited, tired, sad, or bored. That consistency compounds into results that no amount of short-term motivation could match. The great thing about discipline is that it feeds itself. The more disciplined you are, the more results you see. The more results you see, the more encouraged you feel. And while motivation might have been what got you started, those results will give you a deeper, steadier form of motivation, one that comes from progress, not just hype. It becomes a cycle of discipline. Right arrow results, right arrow confidence, right arrow more discipline. People often think that disciplined people are just naturally more motivated, but that's not true. The truth is, disciplined people have learned to act in spite of their lack of motivation. They have bad days, they get tired, they feel lazy sometimes, but they train themselves not to let those feelings decide their actions. That's the real difference. They lead their feelings instead of being led by them. And here's where it gets even more powerful. Discipline creates freedom. Most people think discipline is restrictive, but it's actually the opposite. When you're disciplined, you control your time, your habits, and your direction. You're not at the mercy of impulses or mood swings. You can trust yourself to follow through, and that freedom opens doors that undisciplined people will never see. The freedom to achieve, the freedom to choose, the freedom to live intentionally. Motivation fades quickly because it's built on excitement. Discipline lasts because it's built on decisions. When you rely on motivation, you have to keep finding new ways to excite yourself, and that's exhausting. When you rely on discipline, you simply do the work. No drama, no waiting, no excuses. And over time, that steady, reliable approach produces a life that's not just full of big moments, but full of lasting achievements. So the next time you find yourself thinking, I'm not motivated, remind yourself that you don't need to be. You just need to be disciplined. Discipline. You need to show up even if it's messy. You need to take the next step, even if it's small. Because one step taken in discipline will take you further than 100 steps planned in motivation that never happens. Motivation might get you moving, but discipline keeps you going. And in the long game of life, it's not about who starts fastest. It's about who refuses to stop. Discipline is the reason some people quietly keep winning while others burn out chasing emotional highs. That's why if you want to build something that lasts, whether it's a business, a body, a relationship, or a personal transformation, you must make discipline your foundation. Motivation will visit from time to time, and when it does, it's great. But discipline? Discipline is there every day, holding you steady, pushing you forward, and making sure you cross the finish line no matter how you feel. Focus turns setbacks into lessons because it refuses to let temporary obstacles define the journey. Life will never hand you a straight, smooth road to your goals, no matter how carefully you plan. There will be challenges, unexpected problems, mistakes, disappointments, even complete failure. If you're building your life based on feelings, those moments will crush. You'll feel discouraged, lose confidence, and maybe even quit altogether. But when you build by focus, you see those same moments differently. You understand they're not the end. You understand they're not the end, they're part of the process. And instead of letting them stop you, you use them to get stronger, smarter, and more prepared for what's ahead. The difference between people who grow from setbacks and those who get stuck in them is perspective. Without focus, a setback looks like a roadblock. You feel like all your progress is gone, like you've wasted time, like maybe you're not cut out for what you're doing. But with focus, you see a setback as data. You don't take it personally, you take it as information. It tells you what didn't work, where you need to improve, and what adjustments to make. You don't obsess over the failure itself. You focus on the lesson inside it. Setbacks have a way of testing how badly you really want something. When things are going well, it's easy to feel committed. But the moment something goes wrong, you're forced to decide, was this just a casual interest or is it truly a priority? Focus gives you the strength to keep going even when the process gets messy. It reminds you of your why, your bigger picture, and it helps you see that one bad moment doesn't erase the progress you've already made. There's a big difference between reacting emotionally to setbacks and responding with focus. If you react emotionally, you might lash out, make impulsive decisions, or abandon your plan altogether. But if you respond with focus, you slow down and assess. You ask yourself, oh, what can I learn from this? How can I adjust my strategy? What will I do differently next time? That mindset shift turns what could have been a permanent failure into a temporary detour. Focus also helps you separate the situation from your identity. A failed project doesn't make you a failure. A lost deal doesn't make you worthless. A mistake doesn't make you incapable. Without focus, it's easy to let these moments define you. You start to believe that because you failed once, you'll fail forever. But focus reminds you that this is just one moment in a much larger story. It's a chapter, not the whole book. One of the most powerful ways focus turns setbacks into lessons is by forcing you to examine your process. Sometimes when things are going well, we don't stop to question whether our approach is sustainable or efficient. Success can make us complacent. But when you hit a setback, you're forced to look at what went wrong. Did you prepare enough? Did you skip a crucial step? Did you take on too much too soon? That level of self-reflection is uncomfortable, but it's also where the real growth happens. Setbacks can also reveal hidden strengths. Maybe you discover you're more resourceful than you thought. Maybe you realize you can handle pressure better than you imagined. Focus pushes you to find those strengths instead of only dwelling on what you lost. You start to see challenges as opportunities to prove your resilience, not to anyone else, but to yourself. Think about any great achievement in history, whether in sports, business, art, or science, and you'll find a trail of setbacks behind. Champions lose games before they win titles. Entrepreneurs go broke before they build empires. Artists have their work rejected before it's celebrated. What separates them from the ones who quit isn't that they avoided setbacks, it's that they used them. They took each loss as a lesson, each rejection as redirection, and each failure as feedback. That's focus in action. Another key benefit of focus is that it keeps you from spiraling into negativity when things go wrong. When you lack focus, a setback can turn into a string of bad decisions fueled by frustration. You start cutting corners, blaming others, or avoiding responsibility. But when you're focused, you stay anchored. You remind yourself of the end goal, and you make adjustments with a clear head instead of reacting out of fear or anger. That stability allows you to recover faster and smarter. Focus also changes how you measure success. Instead of seeing progress as a perfect upward climb, you start to accept that it's a jagged line with dips, plateaus, and spikes. You realize that the dips aren't the end of the world. They're just part of the natural rhythm of growth. That mindset keeps you from giving up too soon, because you understand that a setback today doesn't cancel out the possibility of a breakthrough tomorrow. It's important to remember that setbacks don't just test your skill, they test your patience. Focus helps you develop that patience because it teaches you to play the long game. When you're locked in on your vision, you understand that a single bad week, month, or even year doesn't mean you're off track. You keep moving forward because you know that consistency over time matters more than perfection in the moment. Focus also makes you proactive about avoiding repeated mistakes. If you treat setbacks as lessons, you document what you learn. You think ahead about how to handle similar situations better. You don't just hope things will be different. You prepare to make them different. That level of intentionality separates those who keep stumbling over the same problems from those who turn each challenge into a stepping stone. And let's be honest, sometimes a setback is the lesson, and sometimes losing an opportunity teaches you about humility. Sometimes a failure teaches you about discipline. Sometimes a rejection teaches you to value yourself without needing external approval. Those lessons don't feel good in the moment, but they're priceless in the long run. Without focus, you miss them entirely because you're too busy feeling sorry for yourself. When you choose to stay focused through setbacks, you also inspire others. People notice when you keep going despite the odds. They see the way you handle challenges with grace, and it gives them permission to do the same in their own lives. Your resilience becomes a ripple effect, encouraging others to see their own setbacks as stepping stones rather than dead ends. The truth is, setbacks are inevitable. No matter how skilled, talented, or prepared you are, there will be moments when things don't go your way. You can't control that. What you can control is your focus. You can decide whether you'll let a setback push you backward or push you forward. You can choose to see the obstacle as proof you should quit or proof that you're on the right path and just need to keep improving. Every time you face a setback and stay focused, you're training yourself to become more resilient. You're building a mental toughness that can't be shaken by temporary defeats. And over time, that toughness becomes one of your greatest assets. Because no matter what life throws at you, you know you can adapt, learn, and keep moving. So when the next setback comes, and it will, pause and ask yourself, what is this here to teach me? That single question shifts you from a victim of circumstances to a student of life. And if you're focused, you'll realize that every lesson you take from a setback is another tool in your toolbox, another advantage you can use in the future. Setbacks aren't the enemy of success. They're the raw material success is built from. And when you stay focused, you don't waste that material. You shape it. You turn it into wisdom. You turn it into fuel. You turn it into the very thing that propels you toward your goal faster than you could have gone without it. That's the power of focus. It doesn't just help you survive setbacks. It teaches you how to use them as the stepping stones to everything you want.